Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And a good morning to you all. Good to have you here. Just to set us in time and space, it is June 11, 2024. And it's a Tuesday, and that means my sister Susan should be here. Hi, Suze.
I am. You know, I looked up the other day for no good reason what day it was when I was born. And It was a Tuesday.
But of course, it was a foreshadowing, I guess.
It was a foreshadowing, you bet.
Why did you look that up? That's so odd.
I don't know, something. Something about the looking up the New York Times on the day I was born.
Right.
So I did.
So did anything monumental happen according to the New York Times?
No, it was a relatively boring day, actually. In 1951.
Gosh. What? In July 31. Well, you know, it's the end of summer and things aren't happening. Everybody's
It's a Tuesday at the end of summer.
Tuesday at the end of summer. Yeah. So, all right. Well, good to have you here. And I don't know that I have much fun stuff to talk about today. I try, but it's not looking good for today. Just a warning. The first thing I want to talk to you about is something that I was in my car yesterday evening, and I was listening to something, and they were talking about this tape of Alito, and I thought, what? And then I found out about what it was, and I heard what's these things that he said. And
I saw the Windsor woman being interviewed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Windsor woman, I just want to say, I don't like.
It's distasteful. It's what we're talking about. Is she surreptitious? She got herself into this conservative stuff with the Supreme Court justices. And she tapes them, posing as a very religious, right Catholic woman. And I asked all the leading questions she wanted and scored some major points, but she recorded them without their knowledge in a place where they assumed that they were safe to mingle with people. And no, I do not think that. I don't like it when it happens to
That's right.
The people on our side in Planned Parenthood, and I don't I don't think that's appropriate journalistic
Well, it's
style.
not journalism. It is not journalism, and I disapprove of it totally. It is
But on the other hand, she got some good stuff.
Well, but it's not surprising stuff. It's nothing we don't know. It's just him saying it. So who's shocked? Anybody shocked by what they heard? I don't think so. But, this kind of entrapment crap and the recording when the other person is not aware of, that is, as you pointed out, that was the MO of that disgusting bunch. Is a Project Veritas, a guy named James O'Keefe. And I mean, he's a slime ball. And I'm sorry, if he's a slime ball, then Windsor's a slime ball.
I agree.
Misrepresenting herself, trapping.
No, and she looked. I'll tell you in the interview, I didn't warm up to her, because she looked very pleased with herself.
I bet. Well, if anybody has, wants to argue the other side, feel free. But I don't. It
didn't add anything to this discussion. It means that what we know about Alito saying publicly, he says privately, and what Mary Ann, his wife, says publicly, she's pretty much the same privately.
Yeah, they're exactly who we know them to be.
And believe what we know them to believe.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, but it does show Alito's total lack. I mean, but we know this too, of a sense of judicial propriety, because she tried to get the Chief Justice Roberts, and he gave her nothing. And that is the way a judge, somebody who understands their role, conducts themselves.
No, Robert won that one. I mean, he said everything right.
Yeah. He was having none of it because he knows what his job is. His job is not to talk about such things with people he does not know, let alone even people he does know.
No, but he was also accurate in what he was saying, which was, it is not up to the Supreme Court to turn this country into a Christian nation. No, I do not agree that this is a Christian nation. I have many Jewish and Muslim friends that would not agree with you on that. I mean, he said everything, true.
Yeah. But even when he said Jewish and Muslim, I could hear Hindus, atheists, all kinds of other people saying,
yeah, what about us?
Hey, what about us? But that's a quibbling point. He couldn't have been expected to sit there. He'd still be talking about various religious persuasions. But yeah, I find it awful. And see, but this is the what Trump and these folks have done to us. All standards get lowered. All standards are lowered. Are there any standards even left? And then there's a sense of, well, the other, O'Keefe and Project Veritas did it, so we're just fighting fire with fire. And when they go low, we go lower. It's just unpleasant.
Well, it does show that once the dam breaks, it's pretty hard to put all that water back behind it.
Yeah, not only pretty hard, it's impossible. Jeez. So I see John Fetterman got in an.
He rear-ended somebody. I thought of you immediately.
Oh, he rear-ended someone on a highway. I've been there, done that. He though, obviously it was much more intense in that he was injured, and she was seen at a hospital. Now they're home and everything's supposedly
I think
fine.
the driver they hit was in worse shape than either one of them.
Oh, really? So here's the thing. I saw something, and I have to admit it was just a little squib on it, where it said that there were no charges. Well, how does he not get it?
There no charges have been filed yet. It said pending an investigation. Doesn't mean there won't be any.
But I mean, it was. I mean,
usually in the law, when with the person that hits the person in front of them is the one in fault, because it is presumed that they were following too closely to stop in an emergency. That's sort of the way it goes. But there are exceptions to the rule.
Well, that wasn't the case when I did it, because I thought that was anytime you rear end, you are liable. It's your fault, and they seem to suggest the same too. And I admitted it. They asked, so yeah.
I'm just saying in this world, I'm sure it would come as no surprise to you that there are actually people that will attempt to get you to rear end them so that they can sue you. And so if you can prove that you have been, part of a scam where the guy slams on brakes in the middle of, for no good reason, and even though you're following an appropriate distance, the unexpected and inappropriate action, theirs, caused the accident, even if you hit them from behind.
Yeah. Well, okay. Anyway.
So I always say not necessarily, it's the facts of the case, not the way the case appears, but the way the case actually is.
Well, okay. So there's that.
What do you think's going to happen to Hunter Biden?
I don't know. I haven't been following that. I just keep thinking it is such a ridiculous. I mean, if they
This is one of those cases where I'm hoping for what they call jury nullification.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those cases. First of all, it's happened so long ago now. He's clean now. He never used,
and it's over things that they don't charge. Go looking for people to charge.
I know he didn't use the gun. I mean, he had it in his possession for like 7 or 8 days. It is what it is. This is an effort to.
This is what the Republicans have set up a committee to examine the weaponization of the judicial system.
Oh, God almighty, help us. I feel sorry for him. I feel, I do. I mean, because he's cleaned himself up, and now, years later, they're coming for him simply because
a bunch
his father's
of years,
the president.
Fact, for a decade out there, he was he went to some pretty low places. He owes his first wife, millions in child support and stuff that he never paid.
Right.
I mean, he has not lived an exemplary life. Nope. So the fact that some of his chickens have come home to roost is not all that surprising. But I'm sort of hoping that what the jury is going to say is, something. His defense gave us a way out of this. There is reasonable doubt because there is no eyewitness that you were actually, using when you filled out that you might have. They didn't prove it.
Well, even if they do convict, I can't imagine him getting any time for it. I mean, if we were to round up everybody who lied on their, this is a country that practically gives out guns. Well, it does give out guns.
Well, not only that, here's my question to you. Who weighs what they say every year, every time they renew? Who weighs what they weigh on their driver's license?
Oh my God. I saw what I happened, because I had my driver's license out, was looking at it when I got in the accident. I saw what it said about my weight. It's off by a lot. I mean, a lot. So I actually sometimes think they won't even looking at the picture and then looking at me, they won't think I'm the person. But there you go. Okay, so yeah, Hunter Biden, I feel for him. I do, because he's come through it, and whatever. Yeah, did a lot of harm. And I think because so many people know people in their families that suffer these addictions and the resulting behaviors and harm, I don't know. Criminalizing it always is
no.
Just
I think this is a real loser because this problem is not anything that is limited to any one group or any one socioeconomic level. It might be different drugs at different levels, but at a certain point, they all meet where in some horrifying place where they OD by fentanyl, and that is affecting people. I don't think there's anyone anymore that doesn't know somebody who has a relative who hasn't overdosed and died at this point.
Wow.
I know several.
I know you do. Do I? I don't think. I mean,
I saw this happening 2 decades ago when there were children in our very affluent school district who had heroin issues.
Yep.
And I mean, if it was happening then, And that was back in the good old days when heroin was mostly heroin and not mixed with what they're mixing with now, which is fentanyl.
Well, fentanyl.
So you had a chance to clear up your youthful indiscretions.
Yeah.
Now most people just die, and so to suggest for any reason that I think you're right. I think this is a loser. Because I think most people just have their hearts go out because there, for the grace of God, go any one of us, or any one of our kids, and I can guarantee you that is true.
Yep. Well, we'll see. I suppose it'll come down today. I can't imagine it taking much longer than a day, but who the hell knows? Yeah, and the fact is, Susan,
did you notice that Anna Slowenkin, or whatever her name is, the one that was the con woman that played? Did you see that she designed a ankle bracelet, a designer ankle bracelet to cover her ankle bracelet, as in we're tracking where you are for the courts kind of ankle bracelet?
No, I didn't see that she did that.
Well, she showed up for court wearing this designer ankle bracelet emblazoned with the initial A.
Well, she's an entrepreneur of sorts.
She is. I guess her next business is fashion.
God almighty. Oh, dear.
I just, I look at her and I go, boy, did they write the song "The Unsinkable Molly Brown" for her?
That one. But
she just bobs right up like a cork and a smile on her face, and she's off on her next escapade. It's sort of amazing to me.
But she is a crook at heart.
Oh, happy little crook.
She's
successful little crook.
Yeah, she's a con
artist. But a real
artist.
Con artist, yeah.
And I mean, the thing about con artists like that is she's obviously just brilliant. And,
and talented.
If you're so smart and so creative, why do it why play it out in a way that can land you in jail, which is, what she did, or being deported, why not do it legitimately?
Well, because with all of those other characteristics, Lynn, she might just be, how do you say, a sociopath.
A sociopath, yeah, probably. Well, I do want to
it turns out having a built-in moral compass is really rather important to one's successful choices along paths.
Yeah. A lot of folks don't seem to have one that's in good working condition. Okay, so I've got, I have this I want to get into, or not. I don't really, but I want to note it. An upsetting piece in the Times today about the Federal Election Commission, which is one of those agencies that has always been sort of a laughing stock because it's three Democrats, 3 Republicans, and it's stalemate. Nothing ever gets done. But the article is about the fact that things are getting done. And the reason being that one of the Democrats has joined with the Republicans.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And listen to who the Democrat is. Her name is Dara Lindenbaum. Says here, she was once with the left-wing group Code Pink. She served as a lawyer for Stacey Abrams. She's totally from the progressive end of the spectrum. And she is now voting regularly with the 3 Republicans. And so what they've done so far, I think they're just getting started, is they're allowing more money into the election environment, more wealth. Super PACs, you know, I used to hear that these super PACs and campaigns, those PACs might be putting out ads, but the campaigns were not in any way involved, right?
Right.
They're forbidden. They had been forbidden from coordinating strategy, a campaign and a PAC supporting them.
Right.
Not anymore. That kind of thing.
Well, you know, this is the old story that at the extremes of each party, as they're backing around the circle, hit each other in the butts.
I think so too. The commission also decided, listen to this, that a wealthy donor could put money into a trust, and that trust can then distribute donations to campaigns while keeping the original source anonymous. Why would we think that that's a good idea in our electoral system? It ruled as well, this new FEC, that certain types of mass text messages, do not constitute, quote, public communications, which subjects them then to fewer restrictions. How is a mass text not a public communication? Dear God in heaven.
Isn't Stacy giving her a phone call or anything?
No, nothing's happening. No, who the hell knows? She's gone. She's finished. And her term goes all the way into 2027. So it's going to be awful. The spigots are opened further, and all bets are off. And Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, who's often watching, having the same reaction to things like the Supreme Court and this, he's appalled. He said, "Who would have thought deadlock and dysfunction would be the good old days?" Yeah.
Well, yeah. Sometimes getting yourself all locked up and doing nothing is the best possible outcome.
Well, it turns out in this case we were better served by it. It's just unbelievable. It's like, I've mentioned this before of late, that I don't, I read a headline and I just can't bear to go further. The headline is enough of a gut punch. but this one I read, and it's just appalling. So I was hoping yesterday, and I find out today I'm wrong, which is not, it's not like that doesn't happen often. I was thinking that, so Trump gets his sentence a few days before the Republican convention. And I sort of thought that if he gets sentenced to, let's say, house arrest, that means he ain't going to the convention. But I was incorrect. This is what I read today. You tell me if this sounds right to you. If Trump were to receive a prison sentence, he will likely be released on bail pending an appeal. Now, is that the way it works? I mean, what is with our
frequently
system?
Frequently it does work that way.
What is with our system that you can't?
Well, if you have, it depends. But yes, frequently you are out on bail pending appeal.
He's convicted by a jury. He uses every stalling tactic he can, and our legal system gives people so many, it's outrageous, especially if you have the money to just keep fighting back with your lawyers.
Now you know how victims' families feel. Usually, the way we approach the criminal justice system is by making sure that the defendants are properly protected, even as they are vigorously prosecuted, and that has been always our view. Now we're seeing it because, contrary to what Donald Trump says, it is actually we who are all the victims of what he's doing. And so as victims, we are experiencing the system now from the victim's point of view, which bends over backwards, and it does, to give each citizen the full value of their rights to fair trial and justice. So this is part of that. That's just all there is. And how you feel about it depends on who you are in the scheme.
Well, that is true, I'm sure, but the fact that I know this two-word phrase, speedy justice, I'd like to know where the hell it came from, because it doesn't exist.
It does not exist. Never has existed.
It exists in
the only reason it comes up usually is when a prosecutor is abusing it and has in fact locked somebody up pending trial and then takes his damn time about trying him.
I think the only
then the defendant has a right to a speedy trial, as opposed to being locked up forever waiting for the prosecution to get its case together, or alternatively to clear their name and get out from the cloud that the prosecutor has placed upon them.
Well, you know what?
So that's who the right to the speedy trial is, not the victim.
Susan, speedy justice, about the only time it happens, is vigilante justice.
That's right. And that's why there is such a thing.
God almighty. Okay, and it says that the appeals courts don't like to overturn jury decisions. So the odds of his being, winning the appeal are not real good, since the judge was meticulous in the way he conducted this trial.
Yeah, there's nothing to overturn. The jury did not make any egregious error. It was perfectly reasonable to find as they found.
Right. So regardless of the chances of reversal on appeal, the process is going to take months, if not years, it says. How there's no way an appeals court, because once the appeals court, so the appeals court says no, this was fine and dandy and you're convicted. Then he has another appeal to the Supreme Court.
No, he has the right to further appeal.
All right, so that's why it could take years. So he ain't going to be under any house arrest on election day or when the convention takes place, obviously. The only thing that he will be is a convicted felon. Making me crazy.
Yes, our mother keeps saying, how can this be happening? She doesn't get how he's running again, how he's staying in the race now that he's a convicted felon, and how come a president can be a felon? And I said to her, because the powers that be, even with their view of the judgment of the populace, felt that nobody in their right mind would vote for a felon, so you didn't have to write that into the qualifications for president.
Well, and, they weren't imagining Americans in 2024 who...
No, they certainly weren't.
At Trump's rallies in Nevada, people in the crowd are wearing T-shirts that say, "I'm voting for the convicted felon."
Right. Yay. Oh, they have pictures of women wearing adult diapers outside their pants to show Donnie it's okay to be incontinent.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. Yet they're all chanting Biden is old. We got a guy who can't construct a sentence, who if you read what he's saying, like in Phoenix, is just it's So the fact that he's incontinent, and that he's beginning to be like Henry VIII. He smells, he's nuts, he's moldering away in front of our eyes, and yet, he's in power.
They love him. So I was reading this thing. What a vile person he is. So he's in Nevada. The temperature's over 100 degrees. One of the rallies was at noon. There was no, sun's beating down, and his faithful have been standing out there for hours, and they're dropping. There were, I think, 11 or 12 taken needing medical care. And the next day's rally, there were 6 or 7 that needed medical care. And do you know what this guy says to him? I can't. Not that none of this, of course, surprises you. None of it surprises you. He said, "What? Oh, here it is. At the second rally, after 12 people had been taken away the day before, he actually said this to the crowd standing out there in 100-degree temperatures. Everybody was so worried yesterday about you, and they never mentioned me. I'm up here sweating like a dog. I'm working my ass off."
No, what he said was, and then he went on to say, "Don't die. It's not like I care about you. I just want your vote." And to Joe Biden's credit, within 5 hours, there's a campaign ad out just featuring Donald Trump going, "I don't care about you. I just want your vote." And then all it says is, "I'm Joe Biden and I approve this message."
Oh, dear God in heaven, help us. Okay. Susan, I said yesterday, I thought that the biggest campaign issue should be, just the bread and butter issue is affordable housing. This
Well,
pulls
it's one of
in,
them, affordable housing and affordable food, because they've both been just sort of
but mostly housing right now.
unnaturally jacked up.
Well, that's right. So that takes us into corporate greed, and it takes us into all kinds of things that are going on. These big hedge funds buying up affordable housing and then not having them on the market as normally starter homes. People can't find affordable housing, and they're ending up on the streets. And I was reading this article about there are developers who actually want to create affordable housing, and they're saying it's becoming very, very difficult because of something you've mentioned in the past, these soaring insurance rates.
Yeah.
So while homeowners are struggling to keep up with these insurance rates, people who build rental housing and affordable housing, they too are getting, they say, unlike market rate apartment developers, the ones who build these multifamily projects financed often by subsidies and tax credits don't have the ability to pass on the higher insurance costs to those tenants, since they're limited by government guidelines as how much rent they can charge. So that's just another little thing that gets in the way of the creation of affordable housing. I was yesterday, the county executive here said that she wants to have 500 affordable units available in 500 days, starting now. And they've already got some going. And one of the things they're doing is not building, they're repurposing. And I got, why are people on the street when Susan, not you, Susan, but another Susan in Canonsburg, wrote me, there are Catholic grade schools that have been empty for years here. There's one just across the street sitting there. Why shouldn't these places like abandon these schools that are empty?
No, yeah, I've been asking this for ever since the pandemic, when the office buildings emptied out, and it was clear that they were never going to refill in the same way. And meanwhile, we've got all these people on the streets, and you're trying to figure out what you've got the building, you've got the plumbing. Why can't we just repurpose them as
I don't know.
as apartments?
You tell me.
And the fact is that a lot of people thought that, and then when you go in and try and reconfigure an office building, a building that's been built for offices, into apartments, it turns out to be crazy expensive. Duh.
That would not be true for a school, would it? Because every room, every classroom
has plumbing.
But they've got lots of plumbing. You won't have your own toilet, maybe. It's a public toilets, but your own room. I mean, each room could be divided into 4 units. I mean, it just seems like I don't understand why. Now, I know you get into, but I don't know, that there are people without, that we've created this environment where people just can't afford the most basic kinds of things, like a roof over their head.
Well, Manhattan has been like that forever, and the complaints have been there forever that the people who work there can't afford to live there.
Well, that's true up and down.
Now even the people that are making a ton of money can't afford to live there.
And a lot of that is. I find these places.
A lot of their buildings are empty. We're talking over
any
each
place
other.
like that. I find so disgusting. I was once in, where was it, Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, or I don't know, one of those playgrounds of the rich. And, of course, anywhere the rich are, they're waited on hand and foot. Everything is beautiful. There's for every rich person, there's 10 people taking care to make their lives wonderful. And I asked, and this is years and years and years and years ago, where do all these people who work here live? Well, they don't live on the island. They're ferried in every day.
They ferry them in and they ferry them out. Yep.
It's outrageous. It's like one step above slavery. I just find it disgusting. And a lot of the people enjoying these lifestyles are liberals, too. They never think of how they are so much part of the very social problems that on one level they decry, and then on the other they they help create. I don't get it. I'm just so sick and tired of all of it. And I've been reading that the billionaire class, which is growing by leaps and bounds, is almost full on in Trump's pocket now. And when you're talking, okay, the FEC lifting money, any restrictions, and he's got all the billionaires in his pocket. Well, Katie barred the door for what how they can pollute the electoral landscape. So, because and the reason they're in his pocket is because they care about one thing: taxes. They want their taxes kept low. And these are the same guys that after January 6th were turned on him and said it was an outrage and blah, blah, blah. And, there's quotes. They were quoted, the likes of Jamie Dimon and Nelson Peltz and Stephen Schwartzman. And now, they're all coming back home because these tax cuts that Trump gave them are going to expire in 2025. That won't be the case if Trump is reelected. If Biden's reelected, they will expire. And Biden is on record as saying he will let those Trump tax cuts expire, except for anyone earning under $400,000 a year. Which will take in 96% of Americans? We'll still have them. He's saying, why do these ultra rich need to keep getting richer? Trump.
Why don't they have to pay their fair share?
Well, you know what else? And now we're hearing, oh, Social Security is at risk. Social Security is at risk again. You know why it's at risk? Because these SOBs, I don't even know where the cutoff is, but you know how we all pay a percentage of our, paycheck.
It's only up to a certain amount of your income, then you don't.
And that is such a low bar where it stops. It is such a low bar. I don't even think it's 400,000. Anybody know what it is? Unbelievable. And that alone, if the billionaires had to pay like we all have to pay on all of their wealth, I mean, what is the difference? It's just that they've got a lot. All of that money that has been denied Social Security would solve the problem. Problem solved.
Yeah, I mean, can someone please explain to me the reasoning behind letting the people with the most money off of the tax ride?
I'm not.
I mean, what is the economic theory behind that? That they invest the money? No, they, no.
Susan, you know what the theory is. It's that bullshit trickle down crap. But that if there's a percentage that comes out of every dollar that we make, then there is no reason that shouldn't apply to every dollar. And if you got billions of them, well, that's all that money should be heading in to our treasury. And we've learned, for God's sake, that if you continue to enrich these people, it in fact it starves the rest of us and the government. And Trump's plan to extend his tax cut if he gets in would extend our budget deficit by $4 trillion.
Of course it would.
Well, I can't.
But Biden's better on the economy. I mean, but Trump is better on the economy.
That's what Americans Trump's better on the economy. They're not, here's why I'm becoming against democracy, I think. I don't know. Because stupid people yield dangerous results. They don't even know who's going to help them. They vote for the guy who's going to hurt them and help the billionaires who don't need any help. What is wrong with them?
I don't know. The only hopeful thing that I've read recently is that Biden is hanging on to his lead in Wisconsin.
Yeah. I know. It's, you know what, Susan? I'm not even looking at that stuff yet because it's too soon.
And I know it's too soon.
It's just too soon. But there was, I think, the business section of the Times, when was it, Sunday, put out, they do this every year when the numbers come out, chief executive pay. And this is another indication of how things have gotten. This cannot hold, this kind of wealth inequality. It cannot hold. So, the average American worker, the annual average American worker's wage is $65,000, $65,470. Okay. And if you look at this constant growth in what the top guys are getting, it used to be considered, well, it says here, the ratios of the income inequality that exists now, if you were to tell our former selves, just in the 70s or 80s, tell our former selves, would you believe that the top guys are earning 4,000 times more an hour than you are? We would say that's impossible. But they are. And it used to be considered in the 1980s, a Wall Street Journal columnist wrote that research showed it felt about right when chief executives were paid 10 to 12 times what their average worker was paid. Okay. That was considered fair. You got somebody here, working their tail off for you. You get to make 10 times as much, maybe even 12 times as much. And anytime it got as much as 20 times as much, people started saying this is not good, and it isn't fair, and it is not defensible. So I'm looking here at a chart of the pay ratio, what the CEO gets compared to the workers right now. These are the top 10 execs. Good God in heaven. By the way, there's only one woman. I was shocked that there was a woman. There is one woman on the list. And her pay ratio is the highest. So she's the one making almost 4,000 times what her average employee makes.
I mean, that is indefensible.
Of course it's indefensible. So somebody working for her would need to work for like almost 4,000 years to earn what she does in 1 year. How amazing must she be? That's ridiculous. And you know what business she's in? She's the head of Coty, the beauty products, COTY, beauty products company. And she is paid $149 million a year. That's insanity. And she's not the highest paid.
Well, Musk has to be the highest.
Well, he was last year at 1.4 billion. Unbelievable. Paying somebody, the guy or woman who runs the company, hundreds and hundreds or thousands of times more than the people that work for them. That was just not that many years ago considered ridiculous, impossible, and God knows it's indefensible and it's unfair. And I don't understand why we American sheep tolerate it, because we do.
Yeah. We admire it.
We do?
We fantasize that it could be us, or otherwise we wouldn't let it hold.
Well, it's because, and this is what because money is how we value everything and how we perceive value as money. So if somebody's got a ton of money, then they are looked up to because they have true value. Doesn't matter if they got the money because, this kind of extraordinary inequality will only create more and more trouble. Mm. I just keep waiting for. I think I know that our senator Casey, who's running for reelection, he has this issue, the outrageous what he calls greedflation. He's got that up at the top of his issues because that is the kind of thing that resonates with any sentient being, I would think.
I would think. I mean, it just begs the question, for what? How much money does anybody really need unless you want to do something nefarious like control the world?
Well, some of them do.
Yeah, but that's my point. There's no good can come of this. It shouldn't exist. There are too many people with too many needs to be hoarded like this, for all the wealth to be hoarded by the top 15 people.
Somewhere I saw somebody try to explain that, and I'm trying to remember where it was. But it was about somebody actually used the term, one of them, how the rich just cannot get enough. They have to keep getting more and more and more. It doesn't matter why, but it has to do, somebody called it the make them jump factor. What? And I didn't even understand what they were saying. And then it turns out, as I read further, the make them jump factor is in being so powerful that people jump when how high, I guess, becomes the issue.
Yeah.
When you say anything. Oh my God. These are the worst. So there's all that.
Yeah.
Did I depress you already? I can tell I did.
I think we should go back to talking about monogrammed ankle bracelets, frankly. But
what is her situation now? I don't even know. For those of you who don't know who we're talking about,
she was back in court in New York for some reason. She's on an ankle bracelet. Maybe she's appealing hers.
I think they intended to deport her. I thought she was subject
maybe
to
it's
deportation
because
hearing. This is this woman who got who there was a series about.
Yeah, she took the name Anna Devlin and was living as a she was another one of these people that could just live off of people forever before they figured it out
that she was taking them. She misrepresented who she was and pulled it off. I mean, she took these, smart New York investor types for a ride. Yeah. Oh, speaking of, so she was she was a criminal who came to the country illegally, I believe. And I saw a bumper sticker yesterday that made me laugh. It said, let the immigrants stay, deport the racists. You don't like that one?
Yeah. It doesn't have a real good ring.
But I appreciate.
I agree. Listen, I mean, I just keep saying, when everybody's saying, why can't we get anybody to wait on us? Why can't we get anybody? Why are the restaurants all closing? Well, it's because you won't let all these people that got into the country work. And all they want to do is work. There are thousands of people sitting in shelters. All they want to do is work. And we've got the work.
We do.
Give them work permits.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, I've seen there's been a number of houses in my neighborhood that have had their roofs redone, and invariably, I've watched. I was amazed at how some of these roofers work. It really looks dangerous to me. They're on these old slanted roofs and they're scrambling around up there, and they're way, 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 way up, and they're all Spanish speaking.
Yeah.
They're doing the work. And I wonder
because it's hard, hot work.
Hard, hot work. And I also wonder, I hope they're being paid well, because whoever's employing them might well be taking advantage of their status and stiffen them or not giving them overtime, because where are they going to go complain? I think that happens a lot. And I just wonder, as I looked at them working so hard, and yeah, it was a hot day. If I hope they were being treated fairly, but who knows?
Well, maybe they were, and maybe they weren't. I mean, some people give them water breaks, some people don't. Some people pay them a fair wage and then take half of it back because they're charging them for rent and room and board. I mean, all the scams are out there. But if you gave them honest to God work permits where they were legal, then they're getting paid right.
Well, immigration is just another just total fail on the part of our Congress for decades and decades and decades and decades. They just can't figure out and come to agreement. And I can't imagine what the answer is that is fair to all parties, that makes sense for the country, that I can't imagine. And you cannot obviously let everybody who wants to come in, but we don't have a system that's functioning at all. It's just it's in total disarray.
And and for a long time our policy was come in.
Yeah. Roger writes, George Carlin had a solution to housing and where to put affordable housing. He said, build it on all the golf courses.
I have to agree.
Well, golf courses are one of those things that as water becomes a bigger and bigger issue, and it will, and it already is, I don't see how you can have. I know when I used to fly into Palm Springs many, 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 many years ago, built in a desert, it was always so mind-blowing to see from the plane all those effing green golf courses in the desert.
Well, they look different now. They already look different. There's still some green, but a lot of it is brown.
Well, not enough of it's brown. There's just no, and what it costs for certain crops in terms of irrigation is it cannot hold.
No, well, and I find it amusing just because I end up watching golf with our mother, and they're actually advertising for golfers. They need more people to golf, and I'm thinking this is a riot. This is a sport that even more than tennis was exclusive. that they didn't want anybody but white Christian men. And everybody else had to break in to get into a place where one could do that. Public courses were, you know,
Rare.
I mean, it might be slowly changing, but this game was the original, you know, look of racist and, you know, bullshit. They didn't want everybody. If you have to advertise for people, it's because you excluded them all.
Well, tennis was too, right? Golf
also. They made it an expensive sport.
Unlike tennis, though, golf also requires something that people who are working their tails off don't have, which is time.
Lots of time and expensive equipment.
God. So that's that. Yeah. All right, Suze. I got depressed.
Okay.
I got to go work out. Damn.
Good for you. I did that yesterday. Today is my day off.
Well,
have fun. You'll feel so much better when you're done.
Yeah, when it's over, I always do. Thank God. Yeah. Okay. So that's what I'll do. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Goodbye. And you guys, I'm out of here. I hope I can come up with some more, you know, I don't know, happy news, happy views tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.